Buying your first home is both exciting and stressful. It can be something that you've been looking forward to for such a long time, but also something that you're dreading going through the process. When you're looking to buy a home, one of the essential parts of the process is getting a mortgage. And you're not really looking for a mortgage, you're looking to buy a home, but you know that you need to get a mortgage. So having the right team together can make the process a lot easier. My name is Anthony Lindsay, and I've been working in finance for over 30 years, so I know a thing or two. I am an FCA regulated mortgage broker, and I love working with first-time buyers. So here's a few things that you should consider before you start your journey. First and foremost, you need to plan. You need to have a plan in place. And I always think that writing things down is a good way to have a plan because it gives you something that you can go back to, and it makes you more accountable to what you say you want or the things that are important to you. So have a plan. The moment you decide that you want to purchase your first home or even a new home, you should start speaking to a mortgage broker. Now, what is a mortgage broker? Now, a mortgage broker is someone who is licensed and regulated by the FCA to be able to speak to banks and find out who will give you a mortgage based on your circumstances. A mortgage broker, in most cases, will work with a lot of different lenders because they'll be able to look at the criteria for different lenders, look at their client, and decide which lenders are best for their client. So the sooner you speak to a mortgage broker, the sooner you can find out what you are eligible for. And if you speak to them soon enough, and there may be some things that make you ineligible with certain lenders, maybe you can fix those things. So I'll give you an example. If you have just started a job, some lenders will not lend until you've come off probation, and your probation may just be 3 months. So it may be worth understanding that before you start the process. Other lenders will accept the application and look at it as long as you're starting a job within the next 3 months. So even if you haven't started a job, if you have an offer letter and you're starting within the next 3 months, some lenders will look at that. So by speaking to a mortgage broker earlier, you'll understand what you need to do to make sure that you can have the strongest application. Because by having a strong application, it's going to give you choices from more lenders, which with more choice comes a better and greater opportunity to save money. What you will find is there are specialist lenders that will deal with pretty much any situation. The key thing is that you're open and you're honest with your broker so that that broker can go to the lender that is best suited for your circumstances. So as a rule of thumb, I would say 6 months before you're looking to buy, you should speak to a mortgage broker. Now, how do you know what mortgage broker to go to? First and foremost, you want to find someone who has integrity and is honest, someone who is reliable and responsive. Now, you won't know those things necessarily just by looking at Google or Trustpilot reviews. So if you can find a trusted friend or family member who has worked with this particular person recently, then that would be a great way of getting a referral for a broker. But also keep in mind that different brokers can tend to specialize in different customer types. So I specialize in first-time buyers and remortgages. That's not to say that I don't work with portfolio landlords, etc. But I like working with first-time buyers because I understand how apprehensive they can be, and I understand some of the concerns that they have, and they do need someone that will be patient with them, that understands their journey, that will inform them, keep them informed, and explain the things that maybe they're embarrassed to ask. So you do want to find a mortgage broker that you can trust, that you can rely on, someone that has been recommended by someone who has used them. The other thing that you want to do is, before you actually go and look, is get an agreement in principle. So an agreement in principle mortgage in principle, they're pretty much the same thing. Essentially, what an agreement in principle is a mortgage broker will take your circumstances, they'll understand your income, your outgoings, if you've had any credit issues, they'll look at all of those specifics and look at lenders that would lend to you. They'll then approach the lender with an application, and in many cases there's no credit check at this point, but they'll approach the lender with an application to say, in theory, would you lend to this person? Now, one of the reasons why an AIP, agreement in principle, is so important is it will give you an idea of how much you can get for a mortgage. So before you start looking, before you go to Zoopla or Rightmove, you'll have an understanding of how much a bank would lend you. It also means that when you do find the property that you like and you speak to the estate agent, you're able to say yes when they ask you that question, because that's going to be one of the first questions that they ask you. And they may even ask you that before they allow you to view a property. They're going to ask you if you have an agreement in principle. And that makes sense. If you were selling a property and you had your property listed, you wouldn't want to waste time with people that are coming to look at your property that may not even be able to get a mortgage. So an agreement in principle, it makes you look like a more serious buyer, and it also helps you manage your expectations as far as how much you'll be able to get for a mortgage. I've seen both sides of the equation where a client has come to me and they're convinced that they won't be able to get much and we can get them more than they thought. And conversely, I've had clients who just are convinced that they'll be able to get more than they're actually able to get. So an agreement in principle will give you that guidance. The other thing that agreement in principle will do for you, it will give you a roadmap to maybe some things that you need to do to be able to get a better deal. An agreement in principle is not a binding contract of any sort. It's just a document that will say, based on your provisional circumstances, this is how much you can borrow. So if you're a first-time buyer and you're looking to start looking for a home, make sure you find your mortgage broker, make sure you get an agreement in principle. Other things that you'll need along the journey are a solicitor. And I would also recommend that you start sourcing a reputable solicitor that will be able to process the transaction on your behalf. I quite often say avoid these solicitors where everything is done through an app. Try to find a firm that's large enough to be able to handle your business, but not so large that you're just another client. Quite often, mortgage brokers like myself will have relationships with solicitors that we can recommend. Now, keep in mind, the solicitor is a key part of the journey, and they can make it take a long time or a short time. So it's in a mortgage broker's best interest to work with a solicitor that's going to move the deal through as quickly and as efficiently as possible. That's not to say you have to go with the recommendation of your mortgage broker, but quite often you'll find that your mortgage broker will make a recommendation on a solicitor. So if you're a first-time buyer, you don't have to be worried about the process, because there are mortgage brokers out there that will assist you enjoy working with first-time buyers. They'll talk you through the process. They'll make sure that you're ready in advance for the next steps. That way you have no surprises. They'll make sure that you understand what certain words mean or certain phrases. They'll talk through the difference between fixed-term mortgages and variable mortgages. They'll talk through the definitions of benefit periods and term lengths, all of the things that you might be afraid to ask. Now, you may be looking for a mortgage broker and you may not have someone that can recommend someone. And if that's the case, I would love to talk to you. My name is Anthony Lindsay and my information is in the post. I'd love to hear from you. And if you need more information, just give me a call.